Lois, can I have a Pop-Tart in bed, please?
If you're looking to expand your Pop-Tart experience, look no further. Here are the top 10 best Pop-Tart flavors. Strawberry Milkshake Pop-Tarts.
Sounds sweet. It is sweet.
Just because it isn't number one doesn't mean that the Strawberry Milkshake Pop-Tart is bad. On the contrary, it was so well loved that it was brought back along with the Vanilla Milkshake flavor back in 2017. This was originally released and discontinued in 2005, and it quickly became a cult favorite. The iconic Pop-Tart crust works on a different level here. While in other tarts it serves as a neutral puff pastry base, in this one it evokes memories of past milkshakes served in greasy diners, or perhaps a birthday party ice cream cone. The mix of artificial candied strawberry and milky cream is yogurty and extremely sweet. In other words, if you have an exceptionally sweet tooth, you're going to fall in love with this flavor.
Nice.
As with other Pop-Tarts, you can either choose to toast this one, eat it as is, or freeze it. Experts and the box highly recommend the latter, and for good reason. This is modeled after a strawberry milkshake after all, and milkshakes are supposed to be cold. When frozen, eating a strawberry milkshake Pop-Tart is like downing a real milkshake, albeit a thick one that you do have to chew. In any case, strawberry milkshake Pop-Tarts are fantastic, if a little sweet and artificial. But hey, we all need some of that from time to time. Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Did you eat this entire roll of raw cookie dough?
Oh, is that what that was? I thought it was a raisin sausage.
When cookies are being baked, who doesn't like to sneak into the kitchen and lick the cookie dough right off of the spoon? The chocolate chip cookie dough Pop-Tart isn't an exact replica, but it's pretty darn close.
Not bad. Not bad.
Plus, there's no dire threat of getting salmonella. Great as a chocolate bar substitute, the only issue with this flavor is a familiar one that affects many Pop-Tart flavors. It's just a little too sweet. In an untoasted state, you get the distinct flavor of chocolate chip cookie dough. In other words, if you're on the go and you need some sugar to get you through the day, these work wonders. However, the true treasure lies when you toast them. Have you ever walked into the kitchen only to be met with the most heavenly smell? Like if you were in a cartoon, you would be floating type of smell? Well, when you toast chocolate chip cookie dough Pop-Tarts, you get that cookies are in the oven aroma from your childhood. The little chocolate chip specks that are in the icing melt, and the result is a great treat. The inner texture of this particular Pop-Tart is unlike any other. It's firmer and creamier, kind of like a jelly-filled donut. The existence of this Pop-Tart only solidifies one thing: it's a good era for toaster pastries. Cookies and cream Pop-Tarts.
I think the idea of you and Keely is like cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream is a classic flavor for any sweet treat. Think milkshakes, ice cream, chocolate bar flavors. So while this may not be the most original Pop-Tart flavor, that hasn't stopped people from absolutely adoring it. Definitely a more nostalgic play on Kellogg's part. This Pop-Tart is reminiscent of Oreos down to the black and white coloring of the icing.
Mother, Oreo smoothie now!
This Pop-Tart features a decadent chocolate crust with an Oreo cream filling that is beloved by anyone with taste buds, though for legal reasons, it's probably named something like black and white cookie filling. This Pop-Tart is sweet, but manages to strike a balance that is hard to find in the world of pastries. It's sweet without being completely overpowering, chocolatey without drowning out the creamy Oreo flavor, and crispy without being hard to bite into. And the cream filling hits the spot in all the right ways, giving you that smooth texture that only cream can give you. Reviewers describe themselves as being pleasantly surprised by how good these are, and others state that they're even better right out of the toaster. The only downside to this is the dietary implications. At 200 calories a Pop-Tart, these don't really work for those who are trying to watch what they eat. But if that's the case, there's always cheat day. Wildlicious Wild Berry.
Well, tastes like twigs and berries.
If you couldn't tell by the name, Wildlicious Wild Berry Pop-Tarts are definitely one of the most extreme options in the Pop-Tart arsenal. It's got bright purple and blue icing on top, and the inside is so red, like aggressively red. The color of neon lights or that jam your grandma gives you that you never end up actually eating. Unsurprisingly though, this Pop-Tart is a hit among kids. Ah yes, a simpler time when brightly colored foods automatically tasted better. better. Due to the eye-squinting colors, you'd expect this Pop-Tart to pack a lot of flavor, and it does to some degree. It tastes like wild berries, but it's certainly not as wild as we'd hope. That being said, this brightly colored peacock of food is still a respectable choice. The best part? Because it's flavored like fruit, your brain tricks you into thinking you're actually eating something healthier than you actually are. But again, the nutritional value of these Pop-Tarts is horrid.
I have both type 1 and 2 diabetes.
Ow!
Like in the gutter. Absolutely not good for you at all. But that's okay. Sometimes it's all about eating something just for the joy of it. Raspberry Pop-Tarts.
You know what? I'll take one fizzy bubbler, a raspberry.
For some reason, raspberry Pop-Tarts are the ones that taste the most natural. While most fruity Pop-Tart flavors aren't always the best and usually fall into the too sweet category, the raspberry Pop-Tart is the exception. The actual flavor of the raspberry is somewhat muted, but that just makes it more interesting than its fruitier cousins. White with red specks, it's kind of hard to tell what flavor it actually is at first glance.
I have no idea.
However, its icing gives a nice retro feel, and it's advertised as being baked with real fruit. The fruit filling is nice and tart, but though it does taste like raspberry, it also tastes like someone mixed in a bunch of other random fruit. Reviewers love this one. Some of the pros that came up were that they're great for kids, they smell fantastic when they're in the toaster, and that they're a go-to breakfast or snack item. On top of all that, they're available at a fairly reasonable price. That being said, out of all the other fruity Pop-Tarts, this one is definitely a hit. With its white icing and ruby sprinkles on top, as well as the fruity interior, what's not to love? Brown sugar cinnamon.
Eggs and cinnamon.
Cinnamon? Cinnamon? I'm allergic to cinnamon.
Easily one of the most beloved flavors of all the Pop-Tarts, the brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart tastes exactly like biting into a fresh cinnamon bun. And who wouldn't want that? Upon first opening the bag, you're greeted with the heavenly smell of walking into a bakery. And upon putting it in your mouth, you're greeted with a nice crunchy texture. The tasty combination of brown sugar and cinnamon comes through with every bite, eliciting childlike glee. The golden crust perfectly balances the sweet filling. Much like the cookies and cream Pop-Tarts, the brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart is really all about finding the perfect balance between flavors and textures. If you're someone who loves toasting their Pop-Tarts, putting it in the toaster will make your entire kitchen smell wonderful. Eating these brings about a pleasantly nostalgic feeling because while the concept is simple, it still brings all sorts of joy. Consistently delicious, brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts are the perfect comfort food for the recently broken-hearted, the overly stressed out, and those who just want something sweet, easy, and tasty. Seriously, do yourself a favor and pick up a box of these the next time you're at the grocery store. You won't regret it. Cherry.
We're gonna starve.
No, wait, there's still a box over here.
Those are cherry. Yeah.
With a cherry-flavored filling, pink frosting, and sparkly red sprinkles, this is the cherry on top of a cherry, if you can imagine that. While raspberry Pop-Tarts are good, the cherry Pop-Tart is an adorable pink pastry with the most delicious cherry filling. The recipe includes dried cherries for its flavor, but also incorporates dried apple to give it a great fruity balance.
Smart, Ann. Smart.
Cherry Pop-Tarts aren't overly sweet like some of the other flavors, like, say, strawberry milkshake, and they're balanced nicely between sweetness and tartness. We can probably thank the apples for that. While most cherry-flavored treats can have the tendency to taste a tad medicinal, this simply isn't the case with these Pop-Tarts. With plenty of consistent filling and a good amount of icing on top, this is one of the more unambiguous Pop-Tarts out there. Plus, that icing is just so darn cute. It just screams party. This is definitely one of the most solid flavors of the bunch, and if you wanted to, you could probably eat multiple packages without getting sick, which is something you can't say for the majority of other flavors. Sugary and tarty at the same time, this classic Pop-Tart has a definitive cherry taste, and what can be better than that? Chocolate chip Pop-Tarts.
Yes, I'd like a chocolate chip cookie.
For some reason, the chocolate chip Pop-Tart is a Pop-Tart with a lot of controversy surrounding it. Some say that it's the best Pop-Tart out there, no doubt about it. it. Others say, well, that it's the worst. One reviewer said that they assumed this would be the perfect Pop-Tart, just like a chocolate chip cookie, right? But that when they took a bite, they wanted so much more. They said that the filling is good, but that the outer shell had a strange flavor. A little chemical-y, perhaps?
Whoa, Mama, there's a kick like a mule!
As it turns out, the chocolate chip cookie Pop-Tart is the only Pop-Tart flavor that contains datum, an additive used to give a bit more elasticity to a baked product, ultimately changing its texture, which might speak to the strange flavor. That being said, overall, this is a well-loved flavor, and for good reason. Aesthetically speaking, it's all there. When you first open the package, you can already see the tiny little chocolate chips with a small artistic drizzle of chocolate icing on top. On top of that, it's filled to the brim with a chocolate gooey interior, which makes up for the fact that the pastry isn't frosted. This may be the most overwhelmingly chocolatey Pop-Tart despite not being in a chocolate shell. And depending on your opinion of chocolate, your preference for this one may differ. However, if you're like most people and simply adore chocolate, this is exactly how it should be done. The chocolate chip Pop-Tart is exactly like digging into a chocolate chip cookie, making its simplicity one of its major appeals. Hot Fudge Sundae.
I think I'd like a hot fudge sundae.
Great either toasted or frozen, the Hot Fudge Sundae Pop-Tart has got the full range covered when it comes to both hot and cold treats. This Pop-Tart has a chocolate crust, a delicious vanilla filling, vanilla and fudge icing, and it's all topped with multicolored sprinkles. However, even though it tastes delicious, it isn't necessarily reminiscent of the classic treat. Sure, it's sweet and Pop-Tarty, as any good Pop-Tart should be, but is it really a hot fudge sundae? Short answer, no. Longer answer,
No! Just go on. No!
no matter how hard it tries to be a hot fudge sundae, it will never be a hot fudge sundae. Maybe it's simply impossible to reduce something as iconic as a delicious sundae into something solid. Maybe the real deal is simply too powerful to contain. Or maybe whoever made these has tragically never eaten a hot fudge sundae in their life. Customers say that it tastes very similar to the cookies and cream Pop-Tart, which shows a lack of creativity on Kellogg's part. Moral of the story, yes, it's tasty and sweet, but it just fails to live up to our expectations when it comes to the classic sundae. S'mores Pop-Tarts.
What is this glutinous monstrosity before me?
Seen as the holy grail of Pop-Tarts, it's undeniable that the s'more variation of this beloved treat is one of the best. For the majority of people, the s'mores Pop-Tart takes the cake, or rather the tart, in terms of flavor, texture, and joy. Tasting exactly like what they're advertised as, the s'mores Pop-Tart has it all: chocolate, chewy marshmallow, and crunchy graham crackers. The only difference is that the Pop-Tart doesn't make a huge, sticky mess, and you also don't need to light a campfire in the middle of your apartment. On the inside of this Pop-Tart, you get stripes of chocolate and marshmallow.
Delicious.
And while it's strange that this is literally the only Pop-Tart in which this happens, you still get all the necessary flavors in each bite, so it really isn't that big of a deal. Pop-Tart connoisseurs, as well as the Pop-Tart Yeti, yes, Pop-Tarts once had an odd-looking Yeti appear in a TV campaign, recommend putting this one in the freezer for at least 20 minutes before eating, for a cool taste that really hits the spot in the summer heat. This is a childhood favorite of many, with reviewers stating that this is the best flavor of Pop-Tart they've ever had, that it reminds them of being 7 years old again, or that it was their favorite treat back in the day. Whether you used to eat these as a kid or you're just now picking some up, be assured that the s'mores Pop-Tart is a treat that everyone is bound to love. Get a taste of more great videos. Just tap or click. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join our notification squad. And hey, leave us a comment.